Well, joining us to look at the destination inspection this morning is Adeniyi. He's the Deputy Controller Customs, P.R.O. I hope I got that.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, good morning and thanks for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
Perhaps maybe our research wasn't actually apt on this particular matter. Take us through our history books, how it all started when we say destination inspection.
Well, as the word implies, what we do now, we conduct inspection at home in Nigeria. In the 70s, like you said, federal government, the federal military government, in its wisdom, decided that the best way to address the issue of overpricing, capital flights, quality control, quality assurance, price verifications, was to subject Nigerian bad imports to inspections abroad. And companies were appointed to do that. Some companies were appointed to conduct this kind of inspections abroad. And they were doing it on contract. And over the time, they were asked to build the infrastructure that they would be required to do this. And several contract extensions, along the line. And now we have come to a stage when federal government has said enough is enough. We have enough capacity in Nigeria within the customs and within the stakeholders to do this inspection at home. And this is what we are doing now. This is why we now call it destination inspection.
But I know we've always seen some other issues there also why we decided to also say we'll try and tie it to security, because we've seen how sometimes right here on channel television our cameras have actually seen some of these goods who come in and how some arms and dangerous weapons have been concealed, and some say it is because sometimes these are actually done outside the shores of a country. But President Obasanjo actually started off this whole process. I remember in his administration talking about changing the way we've always checked some of these goods.
Yeah, it started then, and the role of customs, the functions of customs has evolved over time. Back then in the 70s and 80s, we were talking principally about customs generating revenue for the country. Customs doing, performing anti-smuggling operations, getting contraband out of our way. In the last few years, the role of customs has gone through some changes. There have been more challenges. There have been more functions. The dynamics of, situations in the international system has changed so much so that we now have other issues related to border security. We all remember the unfortunate incidents of 9/11. That has completely changed the dynamics. So we now have to add security to it. And while we're doing this security, we have to put in mind the fact that we need to facilitate trade. So why try to guarantee that the bad guys do not come in? We also must ensure that the good ones, who are doing legitimate trade, must have their process facilitated.
How do you mean facilitate trade? Because sometimes, a lot of businesses, importers specifically, and even those who are in other business trying to bring in, for instance, equipment to aid their business, you say facilitate trade or business. How does that translate into making good business for these people?
Now, if you look at the whole gamut of international trade, time is of essence. You want quick service. You want to have it in good time. You want very simple procedure. And, you want to do it in such a way that it will ensure quick turnover. This is the only way in which you can stay in business and guarantee profits. So we facilitate trade if we are able to do all of this to ensure that you have a container of goods and it doesn't take you weeks before you clear it. But then as we're trying to get it cleared out of the ports in good time, we also want to ensure that you do not have things that would jeopardize national security, that would jeopardize public health, or that would contravene certain laws, certain prohibitions, certain restrictions. So it's a delicate balance that customs has to deploy all it has, all its tools, all its processes to ensure that on one side we do it in such a quick, fast and convenient way, and on the other side we ensure that things that could create disruption of public peace and disorders are not brought into the country.
Now, you talked about, I know that this is definitely added responsibility to the Nigeria Customs, and you're saying that the Customs is, has been framed or primed to handle these responsibilities. Now, someone would ask, though, what is to obtain? You mentioned the process of people taking their cargoes to other countries. Is it other countries now?
No,
where they were inspected before they were brought into Nigeria. Was that the process that was obtainable?
No, it was inspected at source. For example, if you are bringing in a container of cosmetics from China under pre-shipment, federal government has appointed some company. Then they would subject this to some kind of inspection abroad, and then they will advise customs. The price given by this importer is correct, the quality is correct, it does not offend any of our laws, and then they will issue a document to customs that this is good to go. And they were contracted to do that. And during the period when they were doing it, the contract says, build the capacity of customs so that at a given point in time, customs will have the ability and will have the infrastructure in the country to be able to do this in Nigeria and by Nigerians. So this was the crux of the matter. But over the years, they have come, they have done this, and they have not put enough infrastructure on ground. We've not had enough customs officers trained. So over the years, this has been used as ready excuse that, well, we have done what you have asked us to do, but unfortunately we can't go now because customs lacks the capacity to do it. But with the last contract, there were lots of efforts now put in to ensure that the capacity to do it is available within the customs. The infrastructure, if it was not provided by the service providers, as we are supposed to have it under the contract, is sourced from within the country. And this is what we have seen in the last few years.
Was the country losing any money in all of that deal then?
I would say yes. In terms of Naira and Kobo, I would say yes, we are losing a lot. First, a lot of foreign exchange, is leaving Nigeria because these are mostly foreign companies. They just set up small shops in Nigeria, and 1% of the FOB value of everything imported into Nigeria, and of course this will be running into billions, is paid as service charge to these companies. But on top of that, we have also discovered that when they finish their inspection and they issue their risk assessment reports, when customs subjects this to further scrutiny, we have discovered further underpayment. So we've discovered that, for example, in 2013 alone, when we subjected some of their documents to verifications, we were able to generate a further 27 billion naira just from January to November. So if they had gone, if it has just been service providers that had done those verifications, we will have lost, that will have been money down the drain. So the issue is, if you are looking at revenue generation, if you are looking at protecting our borders, if you are looking at trade facilitation, what federal government, the message federal government has sent is that nobody can like Nigeria more than Nigerians. And we have Nigerians in customs. We have Nigerians as as stakeholders. We have Nigerians as importers. We have Nigerians as terminal operators. So the challenge that the federal government has given to us is that you can run this process and we can get better benefits to the advantage of Nigerian economy.